So, I just saw the new Fantastic Four movie last night, Thursday night. I think the movie was pretty good. A brief, maybe not so brief, plot summary. So yes, there are spoilers. That's gonna be in the, yeah, you already know. Anyway, so I missed maybe like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. So I only saw when Sue found out she was pregnant onwards, but I figure it was relatively early on in the movie because the title card came like a few minutes later, so I didn't really miss too much. So after that, there's a scene from the trailer where they're having the family dinner, and Ben says the whole like, "Oh, you're pregnant," all the other shit, whatever the case. And I like the dynamic between Ben and Johnny. They were like brotherly, kind of like a bullying each other type of way, not like a, "Oh, I'm always looking out for you." I mean that too, but like brotherly in a way, like they're always trolling each other. And Johnny was trolling everybody, but like more specifically just their relationship. They would troll each other. And so after that dinner scene, they go on the Ted Gilbert show and they tell the world that they're pregnant and all the other stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, happy for them, congratulations," and this and the third. And then there's a scene, and now keep in mind, this is all from my memory, so this might be out of order, but this is in order to the best of my memory. You don't like my memory, go watch the fucking movie. So then there's the shot with the Galactus cloud thingy, and they all go down to Times Square to meet the Silver Surfette. And this is one of those moments where people were kind of like, "Oh, I'm scared that Sue's like they're talking about it's a Sue-centered story, and you know, like she's the one who talks to the Silver Surfette and all this other stuff like that." And it's like, the way I see it, Sue is, when she does like leadership things in the movie, when she's like being a leader, she has like a diplomat role in like the embassy or some shit, which you know, is cool or whatever. But like outside of that, anytime she's leading anything, it's more like from like a motherly, familiar angle. It's like she's like guiding her family. It's not like a girl boss, I'm trying to like heavy-handed like take over type situation. With that being said, she steps up and talks to the Silver Surfette after she asks if the Fantastic Four are the protectors of Earth. Reed's just looking there dumbfounded as fuck, like he just seen a fucking ghost or some shit, looking dumb as a bitch. And so Sue steps up, says, "We are," and then Reed looks over like, "What the fuck?" Nah, but anyway, she tells him that Earth's gonna get destroyed, blah blah blah. So skipping some points, there is something I do need to touch on. Two things. So there's a plot point where Johnny and Reed are they're in the lab, and Johnny's pressuring Reed for new suits. That's a part of the plot point, but I believe it was during this exchange, Reed shows him this little portal thing he's been working on, where he teleports an egg from one station to another one that's like across the room or whatever the case. But it like completely browns out the system. And so he's like, "Oh, we got to figure out a way for it to use less power, blah, blah, blah." And he'll get on the suits and whatnot. So the suit comes in as a plot point because it kind of like limits what Johnny can do. He's not supposed to use his powers once his oxygen level is 10%. And that's like a little story plot point. I'll let you see that for yourself. But more importantly, the portal is the real star of the show because that comes in later. So they leave in the Excelsior, their little spaceship, and they go off to go find Galactus. And Galactus is in this fucking gigantic ship. Like, it literally shits on the, like, I'm trying to find a size comparison. Like, a grain of rice compared to this water bottle is what their ship was like. His ship was massive. So they get caught in this like gravity ray or whatever the case, like this little beam that shoots out from his ship, and it like locks him. Like Ben can't move the ship or whatever the case. And then the Silver Surfette comes in and she phases down through the ship. And she talks to them. They joke on Johnny saying your girlfriend's here or whatever the case, you know, kind of playing up that whole like ladies man angle, I guess you could say. And she was basically told them like, you know, Galactus will see you, but like you shouldn't have come here and X, Y, and Z and whatnot. And so they go over to Galactus. He scans everybody and whatnot. And during the scan, I guess he found out that Sue was pregnant. And so they're talking to Galactus and they're like, "Please spare our planet, yada yada." And he's like, "Look, gang, your planet's took. That shit gone. But I will give you an opportunity if you give me that child. And so they're all taken aback, like, whoa, what the fuck? How does he know she's even pregnant? Yada, yada. And so Reed was like, no, you're not going to have our baby. Like, he's a normal baby anyway. Like, why do you want him? And he was like, that baby is infused with the power cosmic and all this other jazz. And then his eyes, they start glowing purple. And then he basically induces Sue's pregnancy. So now she's having the baby. So now they're running. They're trying to get away because they're like, oh no, we're trying to take the baby, yada, yada. And so they're trying to get away from the Silver Surfette who's hawking them down. And they get to the ship and they're like, they're trying to get into a wormhole. She follows into a wormhole and then they break out of the wormhole into a neutron star. And that's when they try to like get her like trapped into the black hole essentially as they like pull away from it. And then they slingshot out. And I shit you not, as they're leaving the neutron star, Sue has a fucking baby. So she leaves Earth pregnant and comes back with the baby in her hands. That's where you get the shot of the little press conference where they're asking the Fantastic Four, well, how did you beat Galactus and yada yada? And they're like, we didn't. And they're like, well, what did they want? And they were like, oh, our child. And they're like, well, what the fuck? What about us? And this and the third. So, they leave. They're like not trying to answer questions. They're like, get the fuck back. Chill, hey, we'll figure something else out. So after the press conference, they were in the Future Foundation building, because I guess the Baxter building doesn't exist in this universe. They were trying to brainstorm on how to, save the people. And so that's when they heard a mob of people downstairs and they were all like rioting and they were like, you're selfish, give up the baby, blah, blah, blah. And so Sue goes downstairs and she gives them a whole speech and she's like, I'm not going to sacrifice my baby for the world, but I'm not going to sacrifice the world for my baby. We're going to get through this as a family and all this other stuff. And that's when Reed has this big-brained idea to take his teleportation device, make it up to scale, and put it around the world so that way they can have enough gates to jump their planet. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, it doesn't even make sense, but I'll get there in a second. They're going to put it around to jump their planet to another galaxy and get away from Galactus for millions of years, allegedly. Now, the reason why I say it doesn't make any sense now I'm thinking about it is because in the movie, there's two devices. The egg goes from this device to this device. So how the fuck are you going to jump the entire fucking planet somewhere else if that other place doesn't have one of these devices? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, they're working on that. All the people are coming together. They're donating materials and they're donating their time and their craftsmanship. Like they call on all the people if you have a skill, whether it's carpentry or architecture or whatever the case, right? Like, you're useful. We need your help because we're all in this together on some High School Musical shit. So launch day is coming and they're getting ready to launch off to God knows where because, again, there is no other device anywhere else. And then Silver Surfette comes down and starts destroying all of them right before they're about to jump off, and she destroys all but one because Johnny slams into her ass and distracts her, and she starts chasing him down. And they get to Times Square where he starts playing all this audio on the screen, and it's all her people like thanking her for sacrificing herself for their planet because she became the Silver Surfette to keep Galactus from eating her people. And she basically says, give up the boy if you want your planet to be saved, because he would give himself up if he was older, but he's just a baby, so he has to be a sacrifice. And so she leaves off, she flustered as fucking whatnot. He goes back, tells them what happened. They're starting to freak out. Then Reed's big-brained ass is like, okay, what if we lure Galactus towards us? And they're like, what the fuck? We're trying to get away from the nigga. And he's like, yeah, but what if we bring him into the city to the last remaining one that we have, and then we trap him and shoot him to a different galaxy where he's away from a ship and he'll be stranded. And so they're like, okay, let's do it, whatever the case. So they evacuate the people, get all the people down in Moman's underground city, and they lure Galactus in with Franklin, and they place Franklin on the platform of the teleportation device. Galactus scans the city, sees Franklin, starts walking towards him. As he's locked in on Franklin and starting to get distracted, right, they start attacking him, and then Johnny, burns him in his eyes and shit, kind of like temporarily blinding him, and then takes the baby basket, flies it over to the Future Foundation building, plops that bitch down, and then flies back. And then they're about to get Galactus to step across the line. That way they can activate the device, and then he stops. He scans again because it's like, I don't know, y'all niggas is moving kind of fishy. And he finds that Franklin has been moved to the Baxter building. So he kind of laughs at him, niggas like, you thought. And then he walks over there. I'm talking about walk over there and straight snatch baby boy up out the crib. Fuck is you talking about? Like, I'm talking about whole-handedly. He took the boy, the robot, and the building. Nigga just scooped that bitch up. And so now everybody's freaking the fuck out. This nigga looking at the baby talking about something. What that nigga said? He said that this meal would satiate his hunger or some shit. Like, this nigga finna eat this baby. Like, what the fuck, bro? No diddler. And so now, I'm probably skipping a couple steps. But, Sue starts, getting in her big body shit. And she starts, like, leveling up on her power scaling because she starts pushing that bitch ass nigga. So Sue starts pushing him towards the device. And Reed is going after the baby. Ben and Johnny are constantly attacking Galactus, trying to make sure that he, is adequately distracted so that Reed can actually grab the baby. Long story short, Reed snatched the baby right as Galactus is getting sucked into the wormhole. And Johnny's like, well, that was easy. And then that nigga started bursting out. Nigga, And they're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? And Johnny over here talking about some, tell Franklin that his Uncle Johnny loves him. And as he's about to sacrifice him, boom, Silver Surfette body slam that nigga and fly straight into Galactus's heart, or I guess his center, the center of his chest, I guess, and knocks him back into the wormhole, and then that bitch closes. Yay. That's the narrative. That's what happened. Spoilers. I already told you that. As far as a rating, I would say we got to give it like a 2-tiered rating system. Like there's like two ways to look at it. So in terms of the Marvel slop that we've been getting for the past 4 years, like since 2021, I give it like an 8.5. In terms of overall Marvel, I'd give it like a 7.5. It's decent. It's actually a pretty good movie. I'm not gonna lie. Very surprising, very shocking. But you let me know what you think. Did you think it was good? Did you think it was shit? Who was your favorite character? My favorite character in the movie was Johnny. I think he was pretty funny. And no, my favorite character in the Fantastic Four is Reed Richards. That's my GOAT. Anyway, you let me know who yours is. Does your favorite from the comics match your favorite from the film or what? Talk to me. Let me know.
Nice.